Howdy, howdy, one and all. Welcome to our new setup video. Today, we are going to be checking out Killjoy on Ascent. We are going to be showing you some very wonderful, aggressive, and passive setups today for both A and B site. We're going to show you ways that will get your enemies into a compromising position and give you the best shot at making sure you get your team the W. So come with us and let's take a look.
Because this is her best map. So to keep it short and simple for you, B setups, I have two really good ones for you. The first one is like this, so put your alarmbot down like this. Ones for you. The first one is like this, so
Alarmbot out.
put your alarmbot down like this. Put your molly as far into the corner as you can, like so.
Placing swarm grenade.
And then place your second molly just on the edge of this box here.
Placing swarm grenade.
Now you can do the traditional method of doing this, however, easily. So wait before, essentially as they try and push in, you have your turret here.
Starting with the B site of Ascent, we're going to go ahead and set up a pretty default area here with our grenades and other things and such. We're going to want to go ahead and make sure our turret is in this corner here, catches people as they're coming in. From here, we're going to want to make sure we have one of our little grenades right here in this little corner. After that, throw our bot.
Bot coming back.
Right over here. We're going to want to make sure that the outline of the circle reaches just to right here. So we're going to want to go ahead and put it right about
Placing
there.
alarmbot.
Make sure it's all good. Make sure it has enough to eat. Make sure it has some cheese in its lunchbox. From there, our second grenade, we're going to want to just go ahead and throw in the corner of this box right here. This is a little bit of a better setup than the normal default setup of the grenades here and here. It gives the enemy a little less awareness of where the grenades are, and if they are running in, they will have a very, very hard time of being able to recognize where those grenades are before you're able to set them off. From the enemy's point of view, when they come in with this setup, they are going to be very unaware of pretty much anything that you have set up here when they first come in. If it's a hard push, they are probably going to get seen by that turret first. That will be your go-ahead to go ahead and activate these two grenades right here. You can maybe hold off and delay that second one, but for the first one, you're just going to go ahead and pop it. As they're coming in, they're going to be taking damage as they push in more. Pop that one. They're going to be taking even more damage, pressuring them to push onto site, or either pressure them to push more into the backside of your spawn where hopefully your teammates will be positioned. For your positioning on this site with this setup, you're going to want to go ahead and either position yourself right here around default or maybe towards the back of site if you are able to still have your turret activated while you do. As you pop those two grenades there and there, they will be able to push in. Very easy kills that you will be able to get here. You can wall bang through the box. You can do other stuff like that. It is a very wonderful default setup, and it works very, very often. The enemy team is usually very unaware of where your grenades are, catches them off guard, they start to get a little haphazard with their movements, and it gives you an opportunity to blast.
They're going to try and run onto site, or they'll push through, and then... so, the setup is really good. It's my standard setup. A alarmbot, like so.
Recalling bot coming back. Alarmbot out.
Just on the very edge of this walkway here. Place your first molly on this dark spot here.
Placing swarm grenade.
And then place your second one here.
Placing swarm grenade.
Dark spot here. And then place your second one.
Swarm grenade out.
Your first molly on this dark spot here. And then place your second one.
Placing swarm grenade. Placing sentry.
Here. And then I usually like to have my turret here. Just because I feel like if they see a risky setup, keep that in mind, but you just sit, and then I wouldn't play this setup if they have a Sova, because it is quite risky if they drone in. Retake, here's a good setup for you to use on eco round for B. If you do want to play retake,
Now for something a bit more aggressive here, you're going to want to go ahead and try this setup right here. Turret in this left corner, you're going to want to make sure that it is cuddled up next to these logs right there. From there, you're going to want to have your robot, again, making sure you're keeping aware of the outline of the circle, making sure you're wanting to put it right about there. So you just go ahead, maybe even line it up with the little T spot right there. Go ahead, plop that baby there. From there, make sure you have one grenade here lined up with that dark spot right there. Moving on from there, you're going to want to go ahead and make sure your second one is connected to right about here. After all your things have been set up, you're going to want to go ahead and position yourself right about here, sitting next to your little turret, seeing if they want a little piece of the cheddar or provolone cheese you have left in your lunchbox. From there, you're just going to want to make sure that you are keeping an eye on your drone, or excuse me, your bot. You're going to want to make sure to be aware if it is sensing someone. If you start to see it sense someone, you're going to want to go ahead, pop that one, give yourself a little bit of comfort space here. The enemies will start to push out, either go towards sidewalk here, or go more towards your bot right here. They'll be focused on the bot, wanting to shut that off, or wanting to get more onto site. Even if they see you in this corner, they are going to first only be able to peek the turret. If you are the enemy pushing in, this is what you'll see. You'll see the turret first. You'll go ahead and get rid of it potentially, and then start to move on down here. You will not ever think that there's going to be someone in this deep corner right here, and that'll play to your advantage.
Bot coming back.
Here's a good setup for you. I usually like to put my Molotov either here, inside this little bag, like so. Or if you want to, you can even just put it like this. And then I'll have my...
Placing swarm grenade. Swarm grenade out. Placing swarm grenade.
Second molly, just like this.
Alarmbot out. Placing swarm grenade.
And then if you're playing retake, I'll usually just sit around here in market, or if you're rotating maybe from mid, just make sure you're in range of your stuff. And then essentially as they try and plan to you, pop your first one, pop your second as they try and push stairs, and then round into be aware, watch the crossing, stand. If you
Turret out.
Once you have gone a couple rounds with your opponents and you want to go ahead and maybe be a little bit more passive on their push, or they are potentially being very hyper aggressive and getting very quick, easy kills and just getting the plant, this is a very wonderful setup for that. Or if you just want to start out passively, maybe not put yourself in too much jeopardy either on site or in that little corner right there by log. This will be a very, very wonderful setup. You're going to want to go ahead and start out and make sure that you have a grenade on default either right there, or if you want to go ahead and maybe try to be a little bit more cheeky and put it somewhere that they will have a harder time looking, you can go ahead and chuck it in the bag. It does do a good job of hiding it for the most part. It also depends on how you're able to throw it. You might be able to do it a little bit better than me. And then from there, you just want to go ahead and make sure that you have the stairs right here in a bit of a gridlock with your drone right there on the second to third step, and your grenade right there on the fourth step from the bottom. You'll either want to position yourself towards market right here, maybe even sometimes taking a peek towards mid to see if you're getting pushed, but for the most part, you'll just want to go ahead and make sure that you have market on a good enough hold right here, checking that corner right there. If you start to see them push in fast, your turret right there will be able to let you know if they are going to push in directly into sight. And you can also hold off on your turret if you want to go ahead and keep it for a retake. You can go ahead and do that, but that turret will also let you know if they are on site and if they are about to plant. Once you start to hear them plant, you can activate either that grenade or that one, respectively, depending on which one you put down.
Swarm
Gonna want to
grenade
go
out.
ahead and pop it. As you can see, it does a very good job of covering the entirety of default. And from there, you're just going to want to be aware of if they shoot out your drone, or excuse me, your camera. You're going to want to make sure that you keep an eye on your bot. Once you do that and you start to hear them, you're going to want to go ahead and put pressure on stairs right there. Maybe even get an easy kill, have them push further towards your spawn. This setup is also a very, very wonderful retake setup. It'll be able to put you in an opportune position, whether you want to push through market or if you want to be a little bit more quieter and maybe do the full runaround. You can go ahead and try to position yourself in their main. It is a very, very wonderful way to set that up and get your team into an opportune position to retake. If you even have your ult as well and you feel brave enough, you're able to potentially throw your ult right here in corner. That way you capture the entirety of B site and give your team a lot easier time to go ahead and try to defuse.
Anywhere, and now I'll move on to A. If you want to play A site, I have two really good setups for you to use. For the first one, you want to come over here.
Bot coming back. Recalling my bot.
Place your alarmbot down here. And then place your first molly here. Second molly just around the edge of this little block here.
Alarmbot out. Placing swarm grenade. Placing swarm grenade. Swarm grenade out. Placing swarm grenade.
So, and then I usually like to put my turrets over here.
Turret out. Recalling my bot. Placing sentry. Bot coming back. Turret out.
This is good because it watches them as they try to push in through garden. So, gives you some good information. And then from here I'll usually just play either green box or maybe hell. Essentially you just wait for them to push. Use both your mollies, they get destroyed.
That will go ahead and conclude all of our setups for B site on Ascent. We are now going to make our way towards A site here. This is going to be our first pretty default setup here. That way you'll make yourself a bit of a presence on site, either towards Hell or towards Green Box. That'll be where you position yourself. And then with your setups, you're going to want to go ahead and make sure that you have your alarm bot right there. Again, keeping an eye on the circle. You're going to want to make sure the circle is at its peak right there. So you're just going to want to position it right about there. Throw one grenade right next to it, right next to the cord, having your gigabit Ethernet wire. Grenade right here towards default. That way, if they try to plant and they're unaware, it'll give you a very easy time to get them off that plant. And then lastly, we'll have our turret set up right there in the corner. Make sure you get it as far to the right as possible. If the enemy decides to try to push in, they will have a way harder time of being able to see that turret. They'll have to push in all the way to right here to even get a chance to shoot. And if they do, and you even decide to position yourself maybe even more towards garden, or you have a teammate that also positioned themselves towards garden or towards mid, they can get a very easy cleanup kill right there. As I said, have yourself towards green box or towards hell, depending on which one tickles your fancy. Be aware of if your turret is sensing anyone coming in through garden or pushing more towards tree behind you. Make sure you know where your enemy is at all times. If you start to hear them push faster,
Swarm grenade out.
pop those 2 swarm grenades. Try to get some kills if they're in the corner. Get those kills. Keep an eye on main. Make sure you are not getting double peeked from there. If you decide to stay more towards hell, this is also very good. It gives you a little bit more of safety from main. Gives you a little bit of a better chance to see if they're pushing in the corner right there, or even pushing more towards generator right there. As I said, very nice setup, very wonderful default setup. That'll get you in a wonderful position to start out the match. And now let's take a look at something else.
Bot recalling my bot.
Enjoyed if they try and push in. If you want to vary this up a little bit, you can also do this. So put your first molly here, put your second molly here on this railing, and then place your alarm bot around here. And if they try and plant the spike, this will basically just nuke them. So what you can do is put your turret over here maybe, like this. Or if you want some extra information, you can just place it over here instead. Get nuked, and then essentially if they try and push here, position, so if that's even a word, who knows. And then the last setup I have for you is to hold off garden itself. This is a very classic setup that probably everyone knows about, but if you don't, it's really good. Place your alarm bot like so on this little
Placing alarm bot. Placing swarm grenade. Placing swarm grenade.
great. First molly here, second molly here, and then you can really just put your turret anywhere, to be honest. I usually just put it over here. If I'm trying to play aggressive, I'll put it here at the start of the round, try and peek off it. But essentially as they try and push up through short here into garden.
Taking a look at our last and final setup here for Killjoy on Ascent. We're going to want to go ahead and set up a little bit of an aggressive, more solo hold type situational setup here for A. Let's say that your team is more stacking B or maybe towards mid, or maybe you just have a free site to yourself and want to give yourself a little bit of room for decoration. This will be a very wonderful setup for that. Pretty staple one that's been around for a bit from what I have ascertained. You're going to want to go ahead and make sure you have one grenade on that grate. Make sure your alarm bot is right here on that grate. Second grenade on that grate. After that, turret placement is a little bit up to your discretion. If you want to be a bit more aggressive, which is something I would probably want to do, you can maybe set up a turret like that. Try to peek off that, see if they're pushing through main, see if they're coming up top right there. Make sure that you're not getting pushed from tree. If you start to hear people coming in through right here, you're going to want to go ahead and make sure that you set off your 2 grenades like so. Gives them very, very tough situation. They have a little bit of a spot right here to hold. So if you are positioned either there or there, that'll be a pretty easy kill. And if they decide to push more into sight, and you decide to either hold towards Gen or towards green box, this will give you a very, very wonderful peek on them, as they are a bit unaware and a bit more worried about getting destroyed by your utility. Overall, this setup is very good if you decide you want to go ahead and hold this solo, as I said, or if you just want to play a little bit more aggressively and maybe take some aim duels or take some 1v1s or stuff like that. This will be a very, very wonderful setup if you are able to potentially get the drop on your opponents and catch them unaware.
Bot coming back.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, frogs and dogs, is going to be all of our Killjoy setups here for Ascent today. Thank you all so very much for checking out the video. I appreciate it a lot. It means so much to me that you got this far. It is more support than I could have ever asked for. If you would like to support this channel even more, make sure to go ahead and like the video, show it to your friends, your grandma, your aunt, your uncle, your pet water balloon. Do whatever it is you need to do if you enjoy it. Or if you potentially have a setup that I did not show off that is better, let me know in the comments. Let me know what your favorite setup was that I showed off. And I will definitely be back with more of these in the very, very near future. And I will see you all on the next one.